to Cup of Queens with Paige and Saray, and today we're so excited. We have Amy, who is an empowerment coach, spiritual teacher, and podcast host of The Feminine Frequency. Over the last 8 years of being a business owner, Amy has taught women how to overcome their limiting beliefs, align their energy, and listen to their intuition to create financial abundance and fulfillment.
Amy uses a blend of scientific and spiritual methodologies, including meditation, quantum physics, and neuroscience to support women in stepping into their next level of leadership and transformation. If you are looking to tap into your most true self, this is the episode for you.
So grab your cup and enjoy.
Hello.
Hi. Your backdrop is amazing right now. Where are you?
It's like ridiculous. I'm in Guatemala. I'm gonna show you the view just because it's like fucking insane.
Oh.
Sorry, excuse my friend.
Oh,
I'm meeting you for this.
that's insane.
Okay, I don't know if you can see the lake, but that's a lake back there.
What in
And
the
yeah, it's
world? Just a casual Friday.
Yeah. What are you in Guatemala for?
There's no like logical reason other than I was guided here. I was in Tulum for 2 months before this and started kind of a semi-nomadic journey, not like a backpackers nomadic journey, but like living and working in different countries. And it was kind of like a point in my life where everything felt like it needed to shift. And I went through like another really big awakening in my business, and I was in a relationship, and I just was in a meditation and got the clear message to put my stuff in storage and sell my furniture and to start traveling. And then since then, it's been almost like getting invitations from people to visit different places. And right now, what feels true is to continue traveling. At some point, I'm in search of a new home of where I want to land, but this is kind of, you're catching me at a really beautiful time in my journey. So,
Wow,
yeah.
incredible.
It kind of gave me chills.
Me
I think
too.
that's so cool. And I love how you just are like following that feeling, which we'll talk about a lot within what you have going on. So you're an empowerment coach, spiritual leader, and you have a podcast as well. So we're excited to talk about that too. But tell us about your business, what led you to that, and just give us a little background of kind of what you do.
Yeah. So I started my business back in 2013. So I think it's 8.5 years now. And for someone in the coaching industry, that's a pretty long time. But my journey hasn't been super linear. It has been very windy, and it's evolved over time. And I think that's one of the really beautiful things about being an entrepreneur, especially a service-based entrepreneur, is that your business does get to evolve with you. And the way that I see business is through the lens of personal development. So as we evolve and as we grow and as we get new awarenesses and as we learn new things, new wisdom that we want to share, for me, like, business gets to evolve with that so that it is continuing to be in alignment. And I find that when we are in alignment with our business, we can enjoy it more. We can attract more abundance. We can be in the creative flow. And it's kind of a journey of being in alignment, then experiencing something that doesn't feel good, and then coming back into alignment. And it's kind of just this evolving flow. That's how I see it. And I haven't always been in more of this feminine flow in the business. I've been in more of like a masculine structure, scale the business, grow, impact lots of people, and like kind of more of that hustle. I wouldn't say hustle, but like the very like success growth oriented way of growing a business. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my path anymore. So to go back to where I started in as a health coach. I started my journey in entrepreneurship because I was experiencing my own health issues. I had terrible digestive issues, chronic digestive issues. I had trouble with keeping my weight stable. I had skin issues and generally just didn't feel good after I ate. And that really led me to discovering more about how can I be more empowered around my health. And I went to Western doctors and tried all the things, and eventually was like, okay, I need to try a different path. And when I saw a nutritionist, I started to feel like, oh, there is something I can do about my health. So I became passionate through my own healing journey, and my background in entrepreneurship school at Chapman University in Orange County, and I got my undergraduate in business entrepreneurship. Not because I knew I wanted to start a business. When I was younger, I didn't have an interest in starting a business, but my dad's an entrepreneur. And so at the time, I mean, who at 18 years old knows actually what they want to do with their life, right? So I go to college and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. And like, I think I'll just do business because that's the most familiar thing. And it might give me some like room to figure out what I want to do. So that's how I ended up in business entrepreneurship. And what I will say is I learned a lot in business school, but you don't really learn how to run a business until you're actually a business owner, where like the challenges come up, like you learn what works, what doesn't work, and all different industries have different ways of doing business, right? So the coaching industry in particular, there's some very specific paths that you can take, but I started as a health coach and continued to follow that path. I was seeing clients in person as a nutritionist, and eventually started to notice as I was working with so many women that there was a deeper calling that I had, and there was actually a deeper level of transformation that was available. And food is part of the journey, but there was so much mindset and emotional work and work around self-love and body image, and talking about like, why did women make choices, the food choices they were making? And so it started to get a lot deeper into more than just the food, but it started to get more into lifestyle and mindset and, just kind of like more of a holistic approach to it. And at the same time that I was on that path in my personal life, on paper, everything looked great. I had my own business. I was married at the age of 25. I got married. We bought a house, we had a dog, and we all know the next steps in the story is we were probably going to have kids, right? And while there were a lot of really beautiful things about that relationship, there were parts of me that really felt suppressed, and I didn't feel like I was living my truth. Mm-hmm. And I came to this place on my journey where I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. I was experiencing really bad depression, and just waking up being like, why am I not happy? Like, I have everything on paper, like everything looks great. I'm doing the thing I should do. And like, what's missing? And there was a lot of self-judgment and like being hard on myself and like, why can't you just be happy? And eventually through going through my meditation practice and starting on my spiritual path, the answers started to become really clear. I was trying to fit in a mold that was not my true calling, not my true path, and living a lifestyle that felt really limiting for me. Mm-hmm. So it took a long time to get that clarity, but once I did, I made the most challenging choice that I've ever made, which meant leaving like my entire life behind. And at the age of 27, I decided to go through a divorce, and really from there, everything shifted. Mm-hmm. And really started to live this soul aligned lifestyle. And through that, my business evolved with me. So I started to offer spiritual coaching, mindset coaching, and my business never felt, up until that point, it never felt like it really clicked. Like it was working, but it just felt like something was hard. And once I stepped into this path, my group program started to fill. I started to have so many more ideas of what I wanted to share in my content. And it just felt so much more of what I'm truly here to do. And that was reflected in my business, in my life, in my relationships. And it's been like 3 years since then. And I've created a multiple 6-figure business through doing what I love and transformational work with women from around the world. And that's kind of what brought me here today.
I think that's incredible. I think it's so awesome that you took charge of your own life. you follow that path. You're continuing to follow that path and be open to opportunities and, letting those doors open. I don't want to jump around too much for the questions that we have, but I'm so curious about meditation. So you talk a lot about that, and that seems, like a very strong part of your life. And so for people who are beginners that want to, start doing meditation, how do you even start, and what do you do? What does that look like? What do you tell your clients?
Yeah. So this holds a really dear place in my heart, because meditation was really the tool that freed me from the mental pain that I was experiencing, the recurring thoughts, the like storm of loud inner critic that was happening in my life. And it really gave me the space to come back home to my truth and to really listen to my soul. And I had tried meditating in the past. I had actually done a meditation course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction through UCSD in San Diego. They have them all over. That's more of like a clinical psychology approach to meditation, which is really cool for people who have more of that analytical mind. It's a really powerful program. But I had gotten my yoga teacher training, and I had never been able to have a consistent meditation practice. I knew that meditation was important. I knew that it helped to reduce stress. I knew that, it was a spiritual practice that was good for you, but it was never consistent for me. And what I share with my clients is that you don't have to jump into the deep end and do 20 minutes twice a day and make it really complicated. Whenever you're creating a new habit, whether it's meditation or journaling or, starting a new workout routine, like really meet yourself where you're at. And so starting with 2 to 5 minutes a day is a really great place to start. And what you're doing is you're building a muscle at that it's going to be uncomfortable at first, because of course it feels scary to sit with your thoughts. You're like, wait, I don't want to hear these thoughts that are already super loud, that I'm trying to avoid, that I don't want to hear, or I'm afraid what I'm going to find if I actually sit in silence. Like, most people know their truth, but they're afraid to actually listen to it, because they're afraid that if they do, something needs to change. And that's terrifying for us, right? Like we're terrified of change. So starting small, I also recommend to start with a guided meditation practice. You don't have to, sit in silence. I think that starting with a guided meditation practice, there's so many apps nowadays. My favorite is called Insight Timer, and they have thousands of guided meditations, all different lengths and different styles of meditation. And starting small in that way, starting guided, and then slowly increasing the time that you extend it to. So again, you're training your mind, and it does get easier over time. There's one myth that I think really stops people from being consistent with their practice is people think they're doing it wrong. And when you think you're doing something wrong, you're like, I'm bad at this. I don't want to do it anymore, right? Like, who wants to do something that they're like, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing. The truth is that your mind is not supposed to be silent in meditation. Meditation is a practice of watching your thoughts, being a witness of your thoughts, practicing coming back to your anchor, which can either be a mantra, or it can be your breath or the sound of the guided meditation. If you try and have this expectation that your mind is supposed to be completely silent the whole time, or that's the goal, you're gonna miss the process, right? It's like and yeah, sure, it feels great to have your mind quiet, and that feels amazing, and you do get glimpses of that, but you're not doing it wrong if your mind is busy. So I've been meditating for almost 4 years now, and sometimes my mind is really quiet, and sometimes it's super loud. And sometimes I like to do guided meditations, and sometimes I like to do silent meditations. So give yourself the space to explore, and taking the pressure off of it having to be perfect, which I see shows up in so many other areas of life as well.
Yeah. For the longest time, I don't meditate. I've tried a couple times on like the Peloton app. I've tried, and I'm like, gosh, I'm thinking too much, but I didn't realize that was good, that you are in your thoughts. And I love that. That's so cool to think about. And something else that you focus a lot on is spiritual methodologies. And you had a couple of these listed within our emails back and forth. And I think this stuff is so interesting. I know meditation falls within that, but elaborate on some of these other, I don't know if the best way to call it is exercises for your mind and your soul. What other kind of strategies do you use with your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I work with, whether it's my private clients or in group settings, my desire is for them to walk away with tools that they have access to and that they will trust and know which tools to use in different situations. So we all know that life gets challenging sometimes. Things come up, we get triggered, we get emotional, we have physical ailments, we have mental well-being ailments, things don't go according to plan. And in order to navigate the challenges in life, if you have a spiritual toolkit, you have access to different modalities and tools to help you to come back to your center, to help you get grounded so that you can respond from a place of empowerment. That's where the spiritual toolkit comes in. So we're always either responding from a place of fear or a place of love. And this toolkit, using these modalities and methodologies, will help you to realign with love, which is in the spiritual realm, like the truth of who we are. Like, we are not our thoughts, we are not our reactions, we are not our patterns or our programs or our beliefs. We are infinite beings. We are love. We are kindness. We are generous. We're patient, but we're also human. So the spiritual toolkit that I use, there's many different modalities, but some of the main ones that we use are meditation, yoga, being in nature. Journaling is a really big one. And I have some journal practices that are not just like your typical, what we call like cognitive behavioral therapy journaling, where you're like, this is how I'm feeling today. But you can actually use journaling to help you to get into a different mindset and a different frequency and to manifest with as well. So there's different journaling practices. Gratitude practices are also really beautiful. I also teach a modality called embodiment. And that's actually using movement and music to process different emotions that are coming through your body, because emotions get stuck in our body, and we can use movement to heal, somatically heal and release that energy. So that's another tool that I use. One of my favorite tools is called tapping, emotional freedom technique. Have you guys heard of that before? No. Okay. So you can look it up on YouTube. They have a lot of really beautiful guided tapping processes, but this one is using kind of their, like the acupuncture points, different meridians on the body, combined with affirmations. And you can use it to clear different thought patterns. And you can also use it to imprint new thought patterns. So you use affirmations to create a new state of being. And it's really easy to do. It looks really funny and weird, but it's really simple. And you can actually shift out of what we call your fight or flight nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, getting out of that stress mode into your rest and digest and your parasympathetic nervous system in like 10 minutes or less, just simply by tapping on different points and different meridians in your body and going through this process. So there's so many different tools, and I'm like really nerdy about, I just love learning. I love learning, different wisdom from different teachers. But what I would say is that all of these spiritual tools and all of the teachings that I don't offer them from a place of intellect where I've like read them in a book or studied them. I've studied a lot of them, but they come from an embodied place of, I've used all of these tools at different points in my journey when I've experienced challenges that have come up. And so through the learned and lived experiences, I feel like I'm able to teach them in a way that is really accessible for women, and it doesn't feel like so complicated and so scary to try them, right? Because when you try something new, again, you're worried you're going to be bad at it or you're going to do it wrong. And I think it's really important to really meet people where they're at on their spiritual path.
Right. Absolutely.
That is so cool.
Yeah. I'm already getting so many ideas of things I need to try myself. So that's so great. So naturally as women, we're always hard on ourselves, and you're always, competing with somebody else or somebody that you want to be, or, whoever that is. So what do you see some of those common limiting beliefs from your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as a collective, we are all holding a really, really deep belief of not being enough and a belief of being unworthy. And that one is really painful to walk around feeling like you need to be more, you need to be different, you need to act different, you need to be a different version of yourself in order to be enough. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And this idea of enoughness is so interesting because a lot of times the way that I describe it is like, it's almost like we have this dangling carrot and we're like, oh, when I'm this, or when I achieve this goal, or when I'm in a relationship, or when I'm married, or when I make this amount of money in my business, then I'm enough. But then you get to that goal and you still don't feel like enough. And then the dangling carrot moves and you keep trying to go further and further. And there's just this like constant narrative of not being enough exactly as you are. And that creates a lot of pressure on ourselves. But what does enough even mean? What are we gauging it against? And oftentimes we're comparing ourselves to other people, but we don't actually know their whole story. We don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they're really great at business, but in relationships, they struggle. Maybe they are really creative, but they have a lot of mental health challenges that they navigate. And that's not to say that there aren't people in the world who are doing amazing things and have amazing lives and have really mastered their inner game and also, are abundant and in amazing relationships. I'm not discounting that. But I think it's a really dangerous game that we play, looking at social media and looking out to other people and just constantly feeling like we're unworthy of what they have, or constantly feeling like they have something special that we don't have. Mm-hmm. So that's a really common pattern that I see, and it shows up everywhere. It shows up in relationships, with money, in business, with our bodies. It really is. I kind of think of it as like a mental parasite that is there, that like has been implanted through our society and our culture.
That is such a great way to put it.
It is, absolutely.
Everything you touched on, I think everyone has been able to relate to at some point. People are so under pressure to really do the most and just be the best that they can be. And sometimes that pressure is hard. But you've worked with so many women, and I'm sure you've had so many experiences yourself. So do you have a singular story or an example of something that you just feel so proud of, that you really kind of say, this is a success story that has stuck with me, or this is somebody that I feel like I really impacted?
Yeah. Oh, there's kind of a theme that I've been seeing with a lot of the women that I work with. And I do have one particular client who I'll share about, and she's had me on her podcast. She's a incredible podcaster. She just wrote a book. She is a successful entrepreneur, owns a marketing agency, has a personal brand, and like is this brilliant, brilliant woman. And she struggles with bipolar disorder. She was diagnosed with bipolar. And what I see a lot with the way that Western society and Western medicine approaches mental health, whether it's someone who has depression or anxiety or bipolar or anything else, is that there's this kind of like label of like, this is what you have. And like, you're always going to deal with this. And there's nothing you can really do about it. You can talk about it, you can take medication for it, but like at the end of the day, like this is what you have. And this was a big part of my journey with depression, being diagnosed at, 18 years old with depression. And I believe that our mental health is actually speaking to us. If we have challenges with our mental health, it's trying to tell us something. It's either trying to have us look at certain limiting beliefs or negative self-talk that we have, or something in our life is out of alignment and we're not really living in our truth. We're not really honoring our truth. And I'm not discrediting that some mental health has a physiological component. And I'm not telling anyone to not listen to their doctor or to not go to therapy or anything like that. But what I find is the women that come to me on their journey are searching more depth. They know somewhere deep within that they don't have to feel that way, that there is another way. And so the process that we walk through, emotional alchemy, I love this process. And it's something that I've really had to look at myself, is really seeing your mental health in a new way, relating to your thoughts and your emotions in a new way, not as bad or wrong or shameful or like you can't be healed, but really taking a look at your mental health and your thoughts and starting to relate to them differently and starting to love those parts of yourself as well. And so this emotional alchemy process, what it does is we dissolve the shame. We start to create more self-love and compassion and acceptance. And from that place, we can start to create new beliefs and new thought patterns. And so what I've seen for my clients, a good example of this, the client that I was sharing about, is instead of your mental health, like giving your power away to this diagnosis or to your thoughts and beliefs, it's taking your power back and being like, yeah, I have challenging thoughts. Life feels hard sometimes, but that doesn't define me. And that doesn't determine whether I'm going to be able to have healthy relationships or whether I'm going to be successful in business or whether I can get out of bed in the morning. And so instead of staying in that downward spiral or the anxiety and the fear for weeks, months, being your constant state, we can actually use emotional alchemy and the spiritual tools to shift out of it within an hour, within minutes, once you start to have the awareness and know how to shift through it. So that, I think, is the biggest gift that I've seen in this work. Women who are paralyzed in anxiety and fear. And these are brilliant women. This is not just like like people who haven't done any work. These are women who have been to therapy, who have done inner work, who have tried a lot of things and just haven't had the depth of support and the type of process that really helps to not just overcome this for a short time, but really transform the way that they relate to their emotions. And as women, we are such emotional beings. Like we have our natural cycle every month. We we're very sensitive to our surroundings. Many of us are. And so learning how to navigate your emotional landscape is one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself. And it feels like freedom to me. I mean, my life was really run from, negative thoughts and a lot of negative self-talk towards my body, towards my intelligence, towards what I was capable of. And that's not my reality anymore. And the last piece that I want to share on this is what happens when we have emotional alchemy is we take these heavy emotions, which if we're looking at it from like a manifestation and an energy perspective, those are low vibrational thoughts. And we're operating from a low vibrational frequency, which feels really heavy and like dull and like a lack of aliveness, right? When we alchemize it, when we learn how to shift those thoughts and beliefs, we create more lightness, we create space for more joy, we create more space for more love in our lives. And that is the frequency that we can start to attract from, that we can start to manifest from, that we start to create from. And so as your inner landscape starts to change, as your inner world starts to change, you become a magnet and a match for new opportunities, new relationships, new friendships, new experiences, more money, more love. And your external world starts to reflect your internal world. So I know that's a long answer, but that's really what I'm most proud of in my work is this freedom that women get to feel empowered in the emotions that come up, in how they relate to their life, in how they can show up, because it's really challenging to go through life feeling like you're the one standing in your own way.
That is Incredible. I feel like I've just been like leaning in further and further to the screen because I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to hear more. I want to hear more. Like that is so incredible. And I want to go off of that really quickly because I think it's probably very different for each of your clients. But what is kind of a term look like with your clients? Is it meeting with them for an hour and then do they have this toolbox where they're ready to go out to the world, or do you continually meet with them? What does that typically look like?
Mm-hmm. It's a transitional work with clients in different capacities. So I actually have a course that's starting in August. That's a 6-week course, and it's called the Feminine Frequency Journey, where we go through different principles of the spiritual journey, of listening to your intuition, of connecting with your soul gifts, of manifesting, emotional alchemy. So there's kind of like these shorter experiences where if someone's kind of like just wanting to dip their toe in, they've never worked with a coach, or they're looking for a little extra support, but they're not sure that they want to do a whole process per se, that 6-week journey is really powerful. And I teach it live and then it's recorded, so it will be available afterwards. So that's a really beautiful starting point. Outside of that, I work with my clients in 6-month increments. Okay. So we go on a journey together. I have a one-on-one mentorship, and then I also have a 6-month group coaching experience, they're 2 very different processes. However, the results are incredible, and they're just different ways and for different people at different times in their journey. So I guess I'll share about the one-on-one mentorship, which is called the Empowered Feminine Journey, the Empowered Feminine Experience. And the way that it works is I meet with my clients 3 times a month, and we do an hour-long session during those 3 times. And then they also get access to me through an app called Voxer, which is basically ongoing support throughout the entire 6 months. So the reason why I offer that is I find that as evolving beings, we go through so much in a week. And sometimes there's stuff that we need to clear and process and work through, and waiting for a week until we actually move through it, sometimes like we miss really important parts of the journey. So instead of being in, like I talked about earlier, a thought spiral for a week, a client might reach out and be like, hey, like I noticed that this thing is coming up, and like I've tried this, but I really, would love your perspective on it. So we can go back and forth about it. I also use that platform to celebrate. If my clients are, having a great week, or if there's something new that they're noticing, a new way that they're showing up in their life, they can hop in there and celebrate. So it's not always like this like heavy, deep work. We have a lot of fun together, and it's really a mentorship where I'm on their team. I'm there side by side, guiding and supporting them. And there is structure throughout the 6 months where we have objectives and specific tools that they're going to learn. However, it's also really intuitive because over a 6-month period, new things come up that like you can't even predict that would be there. And so it's kind of a combination of both the structure and then the flow. And yeah, I have clients who have been working with me for a year and a half. I have a lot of clients who return and continue because there's so much depth to this journey that we get to continue evolving, and I'm always growing and evolving. So I have new wisdom, new tools to offer that allow us to keep growing together. So it becomes a really intimate relationship in the one-on-one process together.
Oh, yeah, that sounds cool. So fun and just like so interesting.
Yeah, for sure. You learn so much about yourself that you never would have. I just think that's incredible. So I think you're so inspiring to so many women all across the country. So what keeps you inspired? What inspires you to continue to learn and grow as a person and evolve your business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really beautiful question. I think that there's a few things here. I feel like I'm a natural, just a lifelong student. I just love learning and I love growing. And there's something within me that's always desiring to be my best self and to keep becoming the most loving, powerful version of myself. And I really think this connection to my soul calling and knowing that we're all here for a reason and that we all have something to offer and give, and watching the results of that and the transformation of that, to me, there's nothing more inspiring than that. And so if through me doing my own work and creating my best life and continuing to learn about myself is not only for my own healing, but it's also to contribute to other women on their journey, like, I don't know what else I would rather be doing. Like that lights me up in itself. And just thinking back to where I was at when I started my journey and who I was and how I felt and where I am now, like there's no words to explain what the transformation is. And it's always evolving. Like the journey doesn't end. And so that's what I really like to share too, is that I'm not better than anyone. I don't have all of the answers. I'm consistently learning from life and from the challenges that are sent my way. And I'm in it with all of you. So that's the part that I really find fun and amazing as well.
That sounds so incredibly inspiring. I feel like I'd be so excited to just get to hear from all the women that you get to work with. Yeah. And we know that you've seen a lot of growth and success. And something that we're trying to ask a lot of our guests is, could you give us an example of a time that you have witnessed someone being a true queen?
I love this. Yeah. I have several client examples. I'm going to share a story of my own just because it is one of my favorites, and it's the way that I really teach about like embodying your queen energy. And it kind of goes back to like this worthiness conversation. So I want to say it was like 3 years ago. It was after my divorce and I was dating again, and I started dating this guy, and he was a music producer, and he was like really cool and wore this leather jacket and like was really interesting. And I remember like we had this really beautiful connection, but I had all this anxiety around it and just felt like his communication wasn't great. And like, I was like, wait, why am I feeling this way? Like, this doesn't feel good. And I was kind of feeling sorry for myself that he wasn't writing me back, and had this whole poor me story going on. Right. And I'm sitting in my kitchen and like really upset about it. And I'm like, wait, how would a queen show up to this? What would a queen do in this moment? And I had this like moment where it clicked in that it was like, if this man can't show up the way that I need him to, and I'm not asking for a lot, then he's not my guy. Like, that's not happening. And just kind of had that shift of taking my power back of like, how would a queen show up to this? How would people respond? Or how would people be in relationship with a queen? There would be respect, there would be admiration, there would be communication. And I just had that moment where I was like, cool, he's not my guy. Like, thanks, but no thanks. And so there's one personal story that I love. I was like, nope, this isn't how a queen would show up.
I think everyone needs that thought process.
Totally.
I need to start saying that to myself just in every day, because
it's
simple.
It's so simple,
but that's incredible.
Yeah. You don't think about it really until you hear somebody else say it, and you're like, okay, duh.
It
clicks. So
yeah.
awesome. Well, we have a super fun game, and we're gonna jump right in. So it's fun. It's nothing like super technical, but it's called red light, green light. And so we're gonna name off different scenarios that we made up, and then tell us if you would go for it or if you would advise maybe not. Hold the brakes.
This sounds fun.
Yeah,
okay.
Be good.
Yeah.
All right. So your client gets offered a job opportunity in the Middle East, but has been told it's not something the employer can explain over email or phone. Your client must meet the employer at a secluded location to learn more about the position.
Red light.
Yeah, that sounds sketchy.
Red light.
Sounds so sketchy is the word that came to mind. Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay. So you win a tropical vacation on a deserted island, but you're not able to bring anybody with you. No one's ever been to this island. Red light, green light.
Red light.
Okay, I didn't know. I was like, okay, I could see her going yes or no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You currently have a great job, but you are offered an amazing opportunity to travel abroad for a new career. You're not able to put a notice in your current job and you have to pick up and move immediately. Green light or red light?
Green light.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Do it.
All right. So you get offered $1 million to have a reality TV show for 1 year. However, you have no control over the editing and representation that is put together with the footage captured of yourself. Red light, green light.
Red light. I love money and I love my reputation more.
You only get one.
All right. You have a gut feeling that something is off within your relationship. Everyone close to you tells you that you're overthinking things and not to worry. You get together with a psychic who confirms that issues are upon the horizon. Stick things out or trust your gut. Red light, green light.
Which one's red light and which one's green light? Red light is stick things out.
Whatever you
Green light. Okay. Green light.
Which is stick it out or trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
Okay.
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you are handed a business that has a bad reputation to overcome within the community. You've been offered all of its earnings tax-free if you can turn things around. However, if you don't reach the set goal, you get nothing. Red light, green light.
Oh, this one's so hard. Red light.
Red light?
Yeah.
Yeah, red light.
I don't think I know what I would do.
I don't know. I'd have to think a lot about it. Yeah.
There's too many unknowns in like the scenario.
Yeah.
Need more information.
All right. Well, this is our last one, and it's pretty out there. You've been offered a position to be Lindsay Lohan's publicist. Every great story that is released about her, you receive a large commission. But every negative story that is released about her also releases one of your deepest and darkest secrets to society. Red light or green light?
Green light.
Really?
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked. I'd have had to read like that one.
I'm like so vulnerable and like share most of my stuff online. So I feel like there would only be like a few really deep shadows that are there. But yeah. I would take my chance.
Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
So, okay. Before we totally end this, where can people find you? How can people connect with you, learn more about, sign up?
Yeah. So the best place to find me, since your listeners are likely listening to this through the podcast, I have my own podcast called the Feminine Frequency Podcast. So that is my baby. I absolutely love connecting with new women there. And it's one of my favorite parts about my business. So Feminine Frequency Podcast is a great place to start. You can also find me on Instagram at Amy Natalie Co. That's CO at the end. And you can find everything through the link in my bio or send me a message and let me know if there's anything that you have questions about. I love connecting with new listeners and new community.
Cool.
Yay.
Amy, you are incredible. This
You're
was
such an inspiration.
so fun and
Yeah.
something so different than what we've ever had on our show before. So thank you for your insight, because
Thank you.
it's like nothing I've seen before.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Yeah. Well, enjoy your time in Guatemala.
Yes.
That's incredible. And we're gonna follow you on Instagram and do all the creeping. So.
Stick along with the journey.
Yeah.
We'll see what the journey takes you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.